What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the Scale News Update. If you're not familiar with the show, this week we talk about the news topics that happened in the scale world of RC over the past week. If you enjoy the Scale News Update regularly, hit the like button. Let's jump into this week's topics. First for this week, Boom Racing is releasing it's a BRX01 AWB with ZIL body, ZIL. AWB stands for adjustable wheelbase. BRX01 we've seen previously. Now, we actually talked about this truck on the news what seems like a year ago or so when they posted up some like CAD rendering images of it. Now, BRX01 leaf sprung chassis. We can get past it. It's fine. But overall, this thing looks pretty good. It appears that it's a nice looking hard body, good detail. The ZIL body, ZIL, I believe is based off of a actual like Russian vehicle. I don't know specifically the vehicle that it's modeled after, but that's here nor there exactly. You know, it's just overall, this thing looks pretty good. Now they've posted it at 7 a.m. Pacific on April 19th. These are going to go up for order. They have a web page link available. It's listed, but you can't actually go to it. It just is a dead link at this point. But they posted up a bunch of photos and they posted up some actually like custom painted ones and some videos on their Facebook page. So again, it's kind of going after like that almost TF2 type market with a leaf sprung chassis. But from the people that I've known who have owned the BRX01, I think that this gets a, better reception than the aging TF2 platform. So pretty good looking overall. If hard body, tiny tire tucked in, spring under trucks or something that you're interested in, it's not something that you see a ton of options for usually. So this one's pretty cool. I don't have a ton of information on exactly when you'll see pricing and that type of thing, but if you're looking for all of that info, again, 7 a.m. Pacific on April 19th is when we're going to see that. So I'll put a link below that they have shown, or actually I'll put it to their blog post, which has the link in there. So you can read about the truck in the blog post. And then if you want at that time, the link is in the bottom of that article. So check that out. Again, doesn't look too bad. Next, JConcepts had two new bodies for the Mini LMT. Now these are both Ford Raptor bodies. One is a 2020 version and the other is a 2010 body style. The proportions are, call it JConceptified. You forget. Like they look, it's just like looking at the photos, I was like, is that, it's not immediate, but like I think that it's just a little askew. I'm not sure if the width, it looks narrow for the length, or the bed looks long, and I don't know exactly. It just looks a little funny, but you don't also see a ton of body options for the Mini LMT. Maybe it's a pretty hard platform to make proportions work on. I don't know, maybe those of you that are Mini LMT owners can chime in on that. But JConcepts always big into the monster truck world, regardless of the scale. So two new options that you can pick and choose from depending on which gen of Raptor you may prefer. Now, speaking of RC4WD Drive a little bit earlier, they brought out a new, possibly, this is the Gelande II truck kit with cruiser body set. Clearly a FJ cruiser body set, but I don't think that it's actually licensed. Not sure exactly how they're getting around that, but I'm also not 100% sure what is totally new about this. Their posts and things like that don't specifically mention like what is updated. The only place in their product listing that I saw the word updated is that they have an updated R3 single speed transmission and the V2 Yoda II axles have the XVD shafts. So I believe maybe that the original axles that came in there had dog bones and this now has the XVDs. But the Gelande II it's been around a while. From what I could find when I did a quick search, it looked like this thing was released on July 5th of 2013. So coming up on 12 years ago. at this point. And I don't think that much of the rest of the platform has been changed. I think it's pretty much a straight carryover. They're just putting in this cruiser body that what we're seeing here. They've also had this for quite some time, probably around the same time frame. When this was originally released, I believe that it came with a Defender body on it. So just seeing a new body set that was previous. I'm sure, I can't remember what platform you could get this body on previously, but RC4 definitely had this body for some time. So there you go, another hard body for this week, although not totally new. And then also, if you happen to really like the Gelande platform, but you don't want the cruiser body set, or maybe you already have one, then you can get their builders or their truck scale builders kit. Gelande II truck scale builders kit is what they've called this thing. And it appears to be the exact same thing. Updated R3 single speed and the XVDs and the Yoda 2 axles. Beyond that, everything appears to be the same as it has been for quite some time. I thought you could get this as a chassis kit previously, but maybe that was just the TF2 platform. So anyway, a couple of new things from RC 4-wheel drive. Next, thanks to Thread and Resin for sponsoring this month of the Scale News Update. Last week we talked about Thread and Resin a little bit with their 3D printing services using the Night Customs platform. So if there's anything from Night Customs that you would like or you'd be interested in having printed, you can contact Thread and Resin. They also have pre-listed items that you can just go right to the website and check out from. They also have a bunch of like t-shirts and stickers with all kinds of funny logos and there's some really good ones. I've had a bunch of these over the past years or whatever, and always some good ones. They also added this week scale truck size sticker sheets that have a bunch of those really good designs on them. So you can just get a decal pack while you're at it, in case you're checking out for some 3D printed parts or t-shirts, other full-size stickers, things like that. Definitely worth checking out. You can go to their website, which I'll link down in the description below. And thanks again to Thread and Resin for sponsoring this month of the Scale News Update. Next, the LMT 2.0 we talked about last week. It had the drive technology. Like the big selling point of that new vehicle was that the drive modes, which allowed that LMT2 to do like standing wheelies and kind of bicycle, a bunch of pretty cool, moves, whatever you want to call it, with that system. And last week I had kind of talked about like maybe you could update a previous one with some electronics, or I was worried about if you did change electronics, how you would lose those modes. Well, this week Spektrum listed the Spektrum receiver with drive technology inside. So I believe that most of it lives in this receiver, at least from what I'm seeing. So if you wanted to add this to one of your previous LMTs, it looks like just this receiver would do it. Now, of course, you do need to be on the Spektrum platform to make that work, but it's also one of their more expensive receivers, up in that $130 range, I believe, is what this thing costs. So that's no small, $134.99 specifically is what that receiver costs. No small price tag, but for a lot of what the benefits were of that new LMT 2.0, if you just wanted to update with a receiver, or you have a custom truck that you wanted to put it in, I'd be interested to see how much of that you could replicate with just that one little upgrade. Not bad. Enjoy it. Speaking of a little upgrade, if you want to upgrade your YouTube to my channel membership option, segue. I'm also, so far, not trying to jinx it, I've one-taked this show. We'll see how it goes. Channel membership helps support the channel a little bit extra. You get additional videos, kind of behind the scenes stuff. You get After News Delight, which is an extension of this show, which just kind of goes back over things. We talk about some other, little topics in depth, things like that. Again, extra stuff. You also get to see videos early, like Scale News Update. You get the night before, but if you're interested in that, link down in the description below. Appreciate all of you who watch regardless, but at least subscribe. Hit that now. Also, Wednesday, 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern, live stream takeover, where Matt and I discuss a bunch of completely random topics, sometimes slightly focused around RC, and then just like a sprinkle of F1 at the end. But don't worry about that part too much. So 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern, we're going into our 6th year of never missing a Wednesday. And if you work for an RC company and like to see any of your products on the Scale News Update, you can shoot me an email to news@harleydesigns.com. Include a link to the product, photos, and a description. And if it's not on the website yet, let me know when it will be so that we can cover that. But shoot that, love to take a look at it, see if we can get it on the Scale News Update. Next, new from Rlarrlo this week is that they are teasing a 1/12 scale rally car. Now, the photos that they have or they've posted up are pretty much all renderings at this point. And, you know, in renderings, it all looks pretty good. Even the underside of the chassis looks like an aluminum tub with some carbon fiber in areas. Overall, somewhat impressive, but again, just renderings. The 12th scale thing is a little odd as well. The 10th scale rally cars sometimes can seem plenty small. So going down to 12 scale, I don't know. Doesn't feel ideal, but you know. Rlarrlo obviously has, we've talked about some of their products last week with the week before at least with that JK large 1/6 scale Gladiator, and now we're seeing this. So they're still making moves with new releases. Also, last week or the week before, we talked about Cross RC and their 1/6 scale vehicles that they've coming out. They have two. One is a 4x4, one is a 6x6, kind of Unimog-esque styling. And on the first tease of them, they were using the Max name. Like one was Max and one was Max with 2 X's. And it was like, oh, that seems like a poor idea. Well, we saw another post about it this week, conveniently, with a name change. Now, no longer do we see the Max name anywhere associated with this vehicle. Instead, we now have the Emo XXL and the Emo XX, which feels like they don't fully understand how the XL thing works. Usually you have like an XL and an XXL, not an XXL and an XX. I don't know. So little update there. And then also we're seeing a couple of dinosaur names tagged on with these. We've got like the Stegosaurus and the Brontosaurus or something close to that. You'll see the photo off to the side here with what the actual name is. They posted up dimensions of these showing you the full wheelbase and all that. I mean, they're fully large. Now, the funny thing is that they put like a 10th scale crawler in the back in a couple of photos and some different posts. And a 10th scale or, you know, full size vehicle maybe wouldn't fit in the bed of one of those vehicles in the full size world, but it kind of looked almost like 2 scale in that. So the scaling is always crazy in RC. Calling, you know, 1/6, 1/10, you get 2 10th scale trucks next to each other, they're the same size, and one is a mini truck and one's a full size. But it's always a tough thing to go for. But the 6 scale on this definitely seems to be comparable to the SCX6 that we've seen from Axial. So it will be in a similar class at the very least. Now, the HPI WR8 Escort Rally, that is now available and appears to be in stock and shipping from retailers and distributors. They have the Flux version, which is the brushless setup, and then they've got a Nitro also available. Now, I've got a link down below for the brushless because who's buying Nitro? Nobody's buying Nitro. They even put on like their website, which is like an also, like, yeah, we're also doing Nitro in case you care. But the WR8 has been out for a long time. Probably similar length to the TF2 or the Gelande that we talked about earlier. But it's a simple, like straightforward kind of 8th scale type buggy, but swapped over to be a rally car. Always cool. And that Escort just looks so good. I think they did a fantastic job with that. Shipping now, in case you want to pick it up, around that $600 mark. It's expensive, but it's still very cool. The Beijing Model Expo is happening soon, and FMS had some like kind of press that they put out in advance of it. We often see new releases from a number of companies at like the Beijing or I think there's a Japan one, there's the Nuremberg Toy Fair. We see new releases from all kinds of companies at those. We don't typically see a lot of stuff put up in advance that is going to be there, but FMS put up some like kind of funny teasers, some things that like didn't really hide what they were trying to show. One appears to be one of their small scale but with an FPV setup inside of it. Like the guys clearly got goggles on that they've like outlined out, like you can't tell what this is, which was an odd choice. Then the other one is a photo which appears to be like their 24, the FCX24 with the Doug body, like the Power Wagon style that just said Doug on it. But they also just kind of like put a border around it. I'm not sure what is going to change with that one because they show the rest of the bodies right below it in different colors, but they clearly have that one up there, but just with, again, like blocked out. Like so maybe there's going to be a change to that FCX platform with the same body on it. I'm not sure. Seemed a little bit odd, but still could be something interesting. Always worth watching to see if anything actually new, kind of cool comes out of those shows. Factory Team Associated put out some new parts for the Element. Now they've got two new parts in this thing. One is the servo on axle mount, which we've seen from them on the Comp Fox. They're like flat rail type chassis, but they're putting that out as a separate option part, and it's a two-piece design. It's a front carbon plate and then a rear steel plate, which, you know, they talk about putting the weight where you need it, which while it is on the axle, it's up above the axle. So it's kind of an odd place to like focus weight. It seemed a little bit odd in that it's this two-piece clamping design. It appears to be, at least they didn't put out a lot of media with it, just kind of this one photo that showed both of their new parts at once. It does say that the weight of this part combined, the two pieces, is 45 grams. So at least you do know what kind of weight you will be adding if you're interested in that. There's a couple of other, or a handful of other servo on axle mounts for the Element platform, but this one coming right from the source at least. Then the other option part that they have now is a steel differential cover. And this also for adding weight in a reasonable spot right there at the center line of the axle, except this one they don't actually give you the weight of. They give you the weight of the servo mount, but not of the diff cover. So at least on their post that they put up for, you know, the announcement of these parts. Steel is a nice option part rather than brass, a little bit harder. So in an area that is going to take hits, it should be a little bit, you know, smoother glide over than soft brass, which can be a little bit grabby. So kind of cool in that respect. The servo mount, I believe, is available now, and then the diff cover will be available before too long, or available soon. It's kind of how they said it, but nonetheless. Then TGH has a new part to list for us. We haven't seen much from TGH in a little bit, but this is now a new DSM II is how it's listed on there. It's very similar to their previous, but the DSMs are popular for flat rail chassis. So DSM is dual servo mount. They also previously had this same type of DSM thing that had, I believe, 3 servo mounts. This one, just 2 in there, all open in the center, 68 millimeters wide, which is a pretty standard option for flat rail chassis. Kind of will bring the front of the chassis back in. It's drilled on the side for panhard mounts, like they have their own. You could use the Vanquish panhard mount. It's got a standard bolt spacing there on the side. The bolt spacing for the brace itself is also kind of a standard distance, similar to like the original SCX-10-2 chassis bolt spacing. So it should be fairly universal, depending if the manufacturer that you're trying to bolt this into used a similar standard. But those are available on the TGH website, which I'll link down to below, and priced pretty reasonably. But that does it for this week's news topics. And I'm gonna call that a one take. That's pretty not ever how I think I've done like one take, maybe 2 other times since I've been doing this show, which has been a really long time now. So I don't know why I felt like I needed to try that again, but anyway, small victories. It was my own little goal for today for some reason, but it's gonna do it for the news topics. For this week's question, I didn't think about this part before, so let's just go with, what is the last RC part you ordered? Whole kit, little screw set, whatever it is. What's the last RC part you ordered? Now we're gonna call it a one-take show. As always, thanks again for watching. Hit the like button if you enjoy the show. Comment, drop your comments below. It's my favorite part of the scale news. As always, thanks again for watching. We'll see you on the next one. Success.